This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt stuck, whether it's a major life transition, a dark night of the soul, or just staying small out of fear. If you've ever struggled to move forward, if you're repeating unhealthy patterns in relationships, or you have a black belt in beating yourself up, you were meant for more, and this podcast is for you. We'll get real, we'll get vulnerable, we'll probably cuss a little bit, and we'll get to the root of it all, your self-worth. With every step, you'll find the courage to rise. Welcome to this episode of the Courage to Rise podcast. I think we're on March 37th of 2020. Not really sure. Time has no meaning anymore. Welcome to the global pandemic and isolation. So I've been talking a lot the last couple episodes and in my blog and on YouTube about a lot of what I'm seeing happening as a result of what we're all experiencing right now. And earlier this week, I saw a post that just made my blood boil. And it said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with a new skill, having started your side hustle or some other long list of accomplishments, you didn't lack the time, you lacked the discipline. And now I'm a life coach and I do talk about the importance of having compassion for people, and that is very true, and that is what we want to come back to. And I also confess that the human side of me occasionally wants to come through the internet, grab people by the throat and smack them around a little bit. Now, that is not loving kindness, so it's just an initial reaction, and then I calm back down again to compassion. But let's be honest, we all have those thoughts. I'm not Buddha yet, okay? It's how we actually respond that matters. But here's my fundamental problem with that. That is the most ridiculous shaming I have ever seen. It is a ego-driven, complete and utter lack of empathy and awareness, and just sort of summarily needs to be deleted from the internet. And I say this not only because it burns my biscuits. It burns my biscuits to see people say that. Had a little Southern moment come out. I think quarantine may be getting to me, y'all. It's because it fundamentally is applying shame in a situation where it's not needed. And shame is truly never needed, but especially now. Now is the time for compassion. It's the time for understanding. It is not the time to come out and say, if you don't come out on the other side of this emotionally draining, nerve-wracking global pandemic, then you're a shitty human being. Because as someone who works in the personal development industry and someone who's been passionate about personal development for a long time, that very thing on many, there are many layers to this, but first and foremost, it puts a bad taste in people's mouths for personal development. It's sort of the same way that there are certain people in certain religious groups that will give a religion a bad name when it actually has nothing to do with the religion itself. It's the way that the human is manifesting it. And it's the same for this. So I have devoted my life in some way, shape, form, or fashion to personal and professional development. And I do believe that positive mindset matters. And I do believe that there are ways to create success in your life. And those are all well and good. And those are principles that we can certainly apply. However, what these people are talking and posting about has literally absolutely nothing to do with that, and is actually coming from their own ego, from their own need to basically proclaim themselves somehow better than or more important than, and they're likely unconscious that that's what's going on there, but it is. And the net effect of that, other than creating intense feelings of irritation in people, is that it's a fundamental disrespect of the human condition, of the human spirit, of everything that people are experiencing right now. And I've talked about shame before and how shame blocks our healing and how shame keeps us in a box. Shame is basically what keeps you in a box in the corner, or part of you in a box in a corner. On a emotional level, in terms of the vibration of different emotions, let me get a little woo-woo here, but this is true, so hang with me. Shame is even lower than guilt. Shame is about as low as you can go. And so when you're feeling shame, or when you're internalizing any piece of shame about something that you should or feel you should be doing, because remember, should is just bullshit, just like perfect, but you're shaming yourself. Should is just another way of shaming yourself. And right now, everyone is navigating this situation day to day. I do not know who these people are who have, quote unquote, all this time on their hands, because pretty much everybody I know either has kids at home and is continuing to work, has kids at home, has one spouse that's working and one that's not, or is always has things going on with their work or with their life, where we didn't all of a sudden get gifted 24/7 of free time. This is not a vacation. Now, can we make the best of a situation? Yes. And should we do that for our own sake to resource ourselves? Yes. Does that mean that we need some, asshole on the internet telling you that you're somehow a horrible human being? If you don't come out on the other side of an unprecedented global pandemic, having created a new business, lost 60 pounds, learned underwater basket weaving, and crocheted a car cover, I have a lot of words for that are not very kind. But what I want to convey today and always is that shame truly has no place. It has no place. It has no place for anyone else to dare to try to attempt to shame you. And we'll talk about how to prevent you from absorbing that. We can't ever control anybody else, right? All we can do is control ourselves and how we react. And also how you shame yourself. Because the truth of what we're all experiencing now is really a magnification to about 1,000 power, million power, of the principles that I always teach and talk about, which is no matter what is going on in your life, the way that we heal and move through things, no matter what it is, whether it's, something on a smaller scale or something like this, first step is to honor how you're feeling and to tune into yourself and what you need. And then you can take the next step to shift into a more positive state of mind and keeping yourself resourced into an empowered state in the meantime. Because right now what we're working with is when we work with feelings of fear, and that's very palpable right now, we want to acknowledge it, but we also don't want to live in it. Because when we live in fear, that also keeps us in a lower vibration. And so what that looks like now is, yeah, I'm feeling fear. I'm afraid. I'm anxious about the economy. I'm anxious about health. There's a lot of unknowns, and uncertainty, as I've talked about, breeds fear. And so we want to keep these things from spinning out of control. And the last thing that I want is for you to shame or should on yourself for what you, according to whom, should or shouldn't be doing during this time. There is no real manual for life, but there's definitely no manual for how anyone would navigate the situation that we're going through now. And so if through all of this, if we come out on the other side of this, we will come out on the other side of this, but if you come out on the other side of this and you haven't done the projects that you had on your house list, if you haven't learned a new skill, if you haven't started your side hustle, guess what? I'm here to tell you that's perfectly okay. There is no expectation that during this time you have to do any of those things. If you have a desire in your heart to start a side hustle, to learn a new skill, if you have the time and space, emotional space and actual space in your schedule and in your life to try something new, to learn a new skill, then wonderful. Right now, there's just a ton of resources that are available and that are being made available for free many times that you could definitely do that. But do it from a place, intention matters. Do it from a place of joy because you want to try something new, or because you know that it will give you some temporary relief from some of the things that you're going through on a daily basis. And if you have wanted to write the great American novel, don't put pressure on yourself that you have to have that done by the end of this. If you give yourself space and if you allow that creativity to come in and it feels good, then great. Then do that. If you have a day where you really feel inspired and it feels good for you to do some projects or to, work on something or try to learn something new, then great. Then do it. But if you wake up one day and the heaviness of this situation is just bowling you over and you feel all of the emotions on it, then if all you do today is get up, make your bed, love on your kids or your pets if you don't have kids, or your friends by text or by Zoom, and just take care of yourself today, that's a win too. We are taking this one day at a time. And coming back to this idea of shame, so as I've said, shame will always block our healing. When you feel shame, it will always keep you in a negative place. It will always keep you in a lower vibration. And when you have someone else that is spouting off about what they think you should or shouldn't do, here's how we become immune to that. I get incensed about it because I know the impact that it has on people that are not as aware of the fact that they don't have to take that, they don't have to internalize that, right? And I get my mama bear energy comes out and I want to protect the whole world from people, but I'm just trying to do one step at a time with podcasts and blogs and videos and things. But if you read something like that, here's how you steel yourself against that. And this comes back to what I've talked about self-love and knowing your own worth, and more than ever, tuning in to what is right for you and not feeling you have to defend that or have a reason for that. Because you owe no one in this world an explanation if you're setting a healthy boundary around you, your life, your energy, your time, your family. And if you read something like that triggers some shame in you, where you're feeling like, oh, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or I'm not, or, this, and you know that tension, you can feel it in your body, right? If I tell you to feel, the last time that you felt shame, or to pay attention to when you're feeling shame, you can feel it in your body. I guarantee you can locate it. And it's a tightness and it's a heaviness, and you'll notice it when it comes up. And when you feel that, I want you to stop and breathe in, breathe out, do a little pattern interrupt on that, and ask yourself, is this really something that feels good for me, that feels right for me? Do I really feel like what's important right now is that I should be working on my side hustle or learning a new skill? Or is what's important to me right now really taking such sweet care of myself and my family or my pets, whoever is in your life, right? Whoever's in your immediate life, whether they're actually physically quarantined with you or just in general, is this what's right for me? And then know more than ever that you are the agent in your own life. No one else gets to tell you how to live this life. And no one else gets to shame you for what you're doing and not doing. Now, I always say this with the caveat that there is the flip side of if we're getting into really disempowered states. And if you're spending the next 2 months every single day on the couch binge watching Netflix and drinking a bottle of wine every night, that's a very different story. That's then becoming unhealthy coping mechanisms that are keeping you in a disempowered place. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with binge watching Netflix. I have certainly done it during this time period, but we all have times. That's what it's there for. That's fun. But we want to keep things in perspective, and we want to keep things where they're helping us feel good, where they're helping us feel empowered, where we're not getting into a negative spiral. So that's very different. So I just want to put that out there. But at the end of the day, you are the only one that knows what's right for you. And you are your own guru. No one else has the right to tell you how to live your life. And so you don't have to take shame on board from someone who decides to post on the internet their personal opinion about how they're handling this pandemic. And it's really important to remember that always, but especially now. And self-care is not, I mean, yes, massages are part of it, and, all that is a part of self-care. But especially now, when we're not even able to do those things to begin with, what self-care is really about is coming back home to yourself. And when I say that, I mean you are literally dropping back in to your own heart, to your own intuition, to what is truly right for you. And we have for so long spent time away from that and looked for other people to tell us what's right and wrong and to tell us who we should be and what we should do, that we have become disconnected from what's right for us. And I speak from personal experience because it took me a long time to realize that. And when you get to the place where you trust yourself so much that you know what's right for you, you will be amazed by, see, this is the irony of it. You'll be amazed by how much you'll get done because you want to. And I mean in life in general, I don't just mean now. But when you're coming from a place of joy and inspiration and what feels good, and when you come back to knowing the values that you have, right now we're all being drawn inward again. We're all being drawn back, physically drawn back together with people if you have a family and kids, or just being drawn back inward. It is a time of slowing down in the sense of a lot of the external noise is stopping. Like I said, those of you with your kids at home, I ain't saying it's quiet, trust me, I know. But it's slowing down the external noise. And oftentimes there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that, aside from even everything else that's going on externally, because it does give us the opportunity to go inward, and that often feels very uncomfortable. But I'm asking you just to try this. Next time you read something like that online, or next time you catch yourself putting a lot of pressure on what you think you quote unquote should be doing right now, I want you to catch yourself, and I want you to breathe and come back to what is really right for me right now. What is really right for me, and what's right for my family, and what feels good. And just take it on a day-by-day basis. And if you want to create a little checklist for yourself every day, that's literally the bare minimum that you want to do to feel good about the day. It might be make your bed in the morning. It might be hug your kid or love on your puppy. It could be take your walk around the block and get fresh air. And, a couple work projects that are, maybe one or two priorities that you want to make sure no matter what you get done that day. And then check those off the list and you're good. That's a perfect way to survive this. And I do say survive because there are a lot of emotions and things that are coming up. And you want to ride this just like you'd ride any other wave, that, any healing wave. There are going to be ebbs and flows. There will be days that you feel good, that you feel okay. There will be days that you don't, that you feel heavy, that you feel sad, that you feel the fear. Love yourself through that too. Breathe through it. Take it one day at a time. And don't let anyone else, now or ever, tell you how you should feel or live or what you should do. Break the shame cycle. And when you catch yourself in that, take a couple deep breaths, snap your fingers, literally do anything you can to kind of disrupt that, to catch yourself. And remember to come back to what's good, what feels good for you right now. Don't be afraid to set boundaries around that. And definitely don't be afraid to mute or block or hide people on social media that are just not helping right now. So I am sending so much love to all of you. I don't care if we've never met before. I am sending you so much love because we are all in this human experience. And more than ever, this is showing us how united we are. We are all human. And so let's drop the shame. Let's drop the bullshit shoulding. And let's just focus on loving each other. And most importantly, on loving ourselves, on coming back to taking good care of ourselves. Because when you do that, that's the key to unlocking everything else. Not just now, but always. Sparkle on. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Courage to Rise podcast. Visit my website, couragetorise.com, for more information on one-on-one coaching, group coaching programs, and other upcoming events. Remember, life's too short not to sparkle. Sparkle on.